Hi everyone, it's Alison. Thank you for joining me today. Today I wanted to show you how I made this extra large desk caddy. I wanted one that held my rulers and all of my, well, I'll show you mine actually. I'll bring it forward. So this is what sits on my desk. It holds everything that I need, that I use every day. And as I say, I wanted one that was long enough to house my 12-inch rulers, because I quite often have a tendency to lose them. And so this is around 15 inches long and is about, let me just get one of my rulers out. I think it's about 8 inches. Yes, it's 8 inches depth as well, and I've not had any trouble with this not holding everything. It's sturdy, it's really strong, it's made out of grey board, really simple to put together, and so I shall show you how I made it. So due to the size of the desk caddy, you're going to want to have A3 grey board, and I use the 2000 micron grey board, which I think is approximately 2mm. If you're going to be following my sizes, then you are going to need to have that thickness. If you've got 1mm, you could stick the two together, which would give you the 2mm, but you may just want to just check your sizes just to check that it's going to fit okay. You're also going to want some construction strips, and these are just made out of cardstock, and they're 1.5 inches wide, scored at 3/4 of an inch. You're going to want quite a few. I tend to just do a bulk of them when I need them, so I've got about 20 here. We might not need them all, but in fact we might need more. So yeah, just do yourself some of those. You then just put some double-sided tape. Can't remember if I said you score down the middle at 3/4 of an inch, and then just fold them in half. And then you just put some double-sided tape. You want a good strong double-sided tape, and just do it so that it's as close to the edge of your strip as you can. You don't want to get any double-sided tape on your scoring edge there. And also you're going to want to get some construction tape. Now this is something that I hadn't used before until I'd made this project, and I found it so easy. Really worth getting. I will pop a link in the description box below. I find this a lot easier than just using the construction strips. And so the sizes that we're going to need for the base, it's going to be 15 inches long by 7 3/4. So of course the 15 inches is why we need the A3 size. Then for our back, you're going to want one piece that is 15 1/4. Now I've put a little arrow there. It's actually not quite 15 1/4. You just want to do just slightly under, and then that's by 4 1/4 inches. So 15 1/4, just slightly under by 4 1/4 inches. You're going to want your front piece that is just slightly less than 15 1/4 inches by 2 3/8 inches. And then you're going to want two sides that measure 7 3/4 inches by 4 1/4 inches. And you'll notice that my pieces, bar this one, have got a black surround on them. This is what this I've done that using this construction tape. And I do that purely just to give it a nice finish. And so what I'm going to do is I'll show you how I do that. First of all, we're going to prep our other side. I've already done this one. And obviously this sits like that, and because the caddy slopes down, that's why it's that shape. And so with your side, the easiest way to get the correct angle of your slant is to grab your front piece, as that's the smallest bit, butt it up to your table so that it's flush, and then grab a pencil and just put a little mark at the top of the where the front comes up, so I've just got a tiny little mark there. And then with your ruler, you just want to join that mark up with the very corner of your side, checking that it's lined up. Okay, so you've got that, and then this part here is going to be cut out. And so what you want to do is grab your trimmer and just line up in the track of where your blade goes, line up the corner where your line is, checking it's lined up, and then use your blade and just cut that. And obviously, because this is 2mm, the blade doesn't go down deep enough. So what I tend to do is just slightly bend it just a little bit so it opens it a bit. And then put your trimmer to one side and grab your cutting mat, and we're going to have to use a blade just to cut through the remainder of where our cutting machine didn't quite go through. And you'll find, because you've already got a groove there, the blade just sits in there nicely, so you don't need to use a ruler, and you don't want to push too hard either. Keep your fingers well out of the way as well, and just very lightly drag your blade through until it goes all the way through. Okay, and then we've got our angled side piece. And so now we want to just cover the edges with our construction tape. So you grab your tape, if I can find the end, and open up, so you've got a nice long strip. And what you want to do is have the join at the bottom. So this is the bottom of my side, and you just want to line up your grey board so you're sort of roughly halfway on the tape, so you've got equal sides either side, like that, yeah. And then turn it, just pull it very slightly, not too tight because you don't want it to rip, and then just push down slightly so that that side adheres to the tape. Bring it round again, just checking that you're keeping the grey board in the middle of the tape, so you've got more or less an equal piece each side. Pull some more tape if you need to. Bring it round again, like that. And then when you get to do this base, just bring it round slightly. You don't want it to touch the tape just yet. And with your scissors, where it overlaps, just give yourself about 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch overlap, and just cut your tape, and then just line it up, and then just stick that to the beginning piece like that. So you've got an overlap of about 5/8 there. And then I just use my finger just to push the tape down on the top of the edges like that. Notice the light's going a bit. Let me just put my lights on, that's better. And so now we've got our piece looking like this. And now what we want to do is just cut a little wedge out of each of the corners. So you cut a triangle, can you see that? And you want to do that on all of the corners. It's a good idea actually, the little triangle that's just cut, take it off of your scissors, otherwise it's harder to cut the next piece. So go around all of the corners. Okay, and then when you've done one side, turn it over and cut out the little triangles on the other 4 sides, or the corners. Right, so that's all of my corners done. And then you just want to lay it down, and again just push down with your finger on the edge there so that the tape is stuck firmly. And then with your thumb and forefinger, just pinch on the edges of the grey board. You don't want to push it all down at the moment, it's just doing that crease so that you get a nice sharp edge. And then when you've done that, with your thumb and forefinger, just push down and push the tape down so that it sticks on the grey board like that. Turn it round and do the same on all of the other sides. And then what you can do, if you've got any wrinkles, just use your bone folder, just smooth over, and you'll find that any of the wrinkles will then just smooth themselves out. And then you can just go again on the edges and just really push that tape down. Okay, and there we've got some nice clean edges. And this isn't necessary at all, but I just find it gives it a nice finish on the top. This one I'm not going to be decorating the top with anything, I'm just going to keep it black. And I just find as well it helps, yeah, to just, if you've got any sort of frayed bits, some of the grey board you find it's, you know, there's lumps like frayed bits on there, so that just helps to cover it. Right, so you might want to pause here because you just want to now go ahead and put the construction tape on all of your other pieces. So now what we need to do is, before we put it together, we just want to put some guidelines in, and this is to help us for positioning our dividers. So I just find by doing this it makes it a lot easier. So to start off with, grab your ruler and you want to measure 2 5/8 from the very back of your board here. So 2 5/8, and follow that all the way down. And then use your ruler to just join that up. Okay, so we've got that, and then you want to measure 2 5/8 from the front. Okay, so now we've got that, and you then want to grab your sides. They're going to go on like that, and again you want to measure from the back 2 5/8 and measure 2 5/8 from the front as well, and join those up. And you want to do that on both of the side pieces. Okay, that's our side pieces done. So you'll see that when they're upright, see how the lines are lined up then, and that's going to help us putting in our dividers. So now we just need to do the guidelines for our section pieces. Right, so for the compartments, I'm going to keep the number the same, so I'm going to have 4 smaller ones and a large one here, and then the three larger ones here. This is the point where if you want to do yours differently, you just need to measure what size you want to do. So if you're going to do it the same as mine, you want to measure across 2 5/8, and like we did on this these long lines here, you just want to join it up, but only on this top part here, because this is our back. Okay, and so again you want to follow from this line measure across 2 5/8 and do the same again until you've got 4 sections. Okay, so that's my 4 sections there, and then I've got my larger compartment here. And then this one, all I did was, so I've got the 3 sections. I'm just going to use my T-ruler and follow the line down like that, only on this middle section. And then I'm going to follow the line down on this line as well. So I've now got 3 compartments here, and then this one doesn't have any because that's where the rulers go. Okay, so we've done that. We'll now need to do the lines on our back as well, but this one, in fact, we won't do it on the back because this is a bit longer. It's not going to quite be 2 5/8. So what we'll do, we'll leave that bit for now. We will be putting guidelines on these pieces, but we'll do that once we've put it together. So what we're going to do now is construct our case, if you like, the outside part. And so grab your construction tape again, and you just want to pull a piece that's just slightly longer than the edge of your base, and just line the base up again so that it's, let's pull off a bit more tape, so that it's just overlapping halfway like that, and then just push down, and then grab your scissors and just cut it like that, just so you've got an overlap, and then do the same again on the other end. Okay, and then turn it round, and this is a bit long, so I'm not going to be able to show all of that on the camera, but you then want to do the same again on both of the long sides. Okay, so you should now have something very similar to that, and then you just want to tidy up where you've got the overlap of your tape. Just tidy up the edges, doesn't need to be perfect, just so that you've got nice square edges. Probably best to use some slightly longer scissors for that. So wherever the tape's overhanging, just cut that so that it's a bit neater. And then what we then want to do is just cut the corners, and you just want to cut at a slight angle towards the corner of the grey board, and do the same on this side. So you just have that, and you want to do that on all of the other 3 corners. Okay, and then lay your base down so that you've got the back section here. So you want the back at the back, and then grab one of your sides, and with the tallest edge at the back, you want to line it up with your base, and you'll find that this width here is the same as the width of the base, and so you want to line it up, but also pushing the side up against the base, and with it being on your table as well. So push it up against the base, push it down towards the table so that you know that it's straight, and then just let it drop. And when you do that, just push down, and then the tape will stick to the side, and you'll see then that that will move pretty freely. Just lift it up and just check that it's not restricted anywhere, and then turn it round and do the same for your other side, and just making sure that you've got your side the right way, so that you've got the tallest part now here at the front. And again, just line it up with your base, ensuring that it's butted up to the edge of your base, and then let it drop. Okay, and then we'll turn it back round again. And what we're going to do now is we'll grab the back, and with this, now this is going to be slightly longer. And what I find the best thing to do is bring up your side like this, and then position your back so that it's just, when you bring your side up, you want it so that the back, let me bring it up to the camera, sits on your side like that. Can you see that? I'm not sure if you can. Let me, if I get it on, and then I can bring it up and show you. So it needs to be flush on the base, on the table, and you just want it just so that let's undo that. And this time what we'll do actually is we'll position it just so that it's equal on each side, just overlapping equally on each side. And then before you drop it down, just bring up your side and just check that that lines up. Bring up the other side, and yeah, that does line up. And then we'll bring that down like that. Okay, and then you'll see, can you just see there, if I zoom in, no, I don't think that's going to work, is it? Let me just, yeah, see how it just slightly overlaps, and that allows for the thickness of the side so that the back sits on the side here. Okay, let's zoom out again. Right, and then we'll turn it round again, and we'll do the same with our front piece. So again, we'll just position it so it's got an equal overhang either side. Bring it up and check it's flush to the base. Just check that it meets the side, which it does. Yeah, that's fine, and then just let that drop. Okay. And then what we need to do is we need to now use the construction tape to stick our corners together. And so just peel off a length, roughly the length of the back, perhaps just a bit longer. And then what you want to do is, with the sticky side out, just fold it just roughly in half like that, and we're just going to take a wedge off. So I've now got the folded part on the left hand side there. I'm just going to cut at an angle like that, and then that gives us that triangle shape. And then bring up your back and your side, and as I say, the back has got to meet the side of your side there, and just position your tape so that the point of it is just at the top there, and checking it's straight, just stick the tape down and lift it up. This is a bit fiddly. In fact, let's hold that down and just use your thumb and just bring that round like that. Okay, and then we can cut the excess off the bottom. And then what you want to do is just, with that excess there, where you've got your crease coming down the back, just cut up like that, okay, and then you can fold that piece under there and that piece under there, and then smooth it out with your finger, and we've then got our edge, our corner, our first corner made. And we will be putting construction strips inside as well to strengthen that even more. So we'll do the same now on the front. So cut another piece of tape, and I'll show you this again. So sticky side out, fold it in half, and with the crease line on the left hand side, just cut a piece off like that, so we're left with a triangle. And what we'll do is, let's just put it up like that. We'll just, with half of your tape, we'll just stick it to the front like that, and then line it up with the side so that it's pushed against the edge of the side, and use your thumb just to push that down. Okay, and then where we've got our corner again, we'll just use the scissors to cut up the middle, and then fold that piece under there and that piece under there. Okay, and that's our side done. So now what you want to do is do the same for your other side. Right, so that's our sides now attached to our front and our back. And what we're going to do now is we're going to give it some extra stability, just to strengthen these corners, because at the moment we've sort of only got this bit of tape holding them together. We're going to use a construction tape and run a line all around the top edge of our caddy. And you do that the same way as you did covering your other pieces, it's just a bit bigger. So again, you'll just open up your tape, and this time you're going to hold your caddy up like this, and you want to have the join at the back. So I've got the back here, and you just do it the same way, where you just line up your caddy so that it comes halfway on the tape. Can you see that? And then pull some more tape, lift the caddy up, which I shall try and do without hitting the camera. And this is a bit different because we've obviously got the slant there of our side. Pull some more tape and have it round the front. And what this does, it's obviously, because it's going to be one continuous piece, it's just going to secure the sides and will hopefully then stop it falling apart at a later date, which it shouldn't do. But this just gives that extra security. So again, just cut your tape so that we've got an overhang of about 5/8. Apologies, I know you're not being able to see that very well, but it's really difficult due to the the size of this caddy, and then just have those two pieces together. Okay, so we've now got that, and you want to go ahead and cut the corners like we did on the other pieces, and cut a little triangle out like that. And we might need to adjust that slightly. We won't know until we go to fold this over, which I'll show you. So go ahead and just cut the little triangle out of all the corners. Right, and then once you've done that, I'm just going to turn it round now and work on my back piece. You just want to try and smooth out any creases that you've got, and that's quite tricky, that part, so there's bound to be some. Just smooth them out with your bone folder, and then again, just with your finger, just push on the edge of the grey board so that you're creasing the tape, and then push on the top so that you're pushing the tape down onto the edge of the back there. And this is where you might need to just make an adjustment to your cut that you did on the corner, but you can normally just push with your finger and get that squeezed into the side there, and then push the rest down, and then turn it round to the front. Again, just use your forefinger to initially give it a nice edge, and then smooth over the top, and then push down like that. And then do the same on the sides. There we go. And you can go ahead and use your bone folder just to really push that tape down and smooth out any creases. Okay, and you should feel now that that's already created stronger sides. And now what we're going to do is put some construction strips inside. So grab some of your strips that you'd have made, and we're going to stick these all on the base and then up the sides. And so the way to do that is with your first piece, push it up against the back so that the crease line, the score line, is pushed up into the edge of the back and up against the side, and then while holding that in place, you want to take the backing off of your double-sided tape. In fact, what I'll do, let me take that off first, because that can be a bit awkward. There we go, so that's the sticky part there. So hold it down so that it doesn't stick to anything just yet, and push the crease up against the back so that it's on the base and it's pushed up against the side. And then whilst holding it in place, use your fingers and just then push where you've taken the backing off the tape. Okay, and then that way you'll know that's going to be in a perfect position. So then lift up and remove the backing off of the other side, and you'll know now that that's going to be in the right place. And so just push down with your fingers and then use your bone folder just to really get that stuck down. Like that, okay, and then grab another strip, and for this we're going to need to cut it down. So the easiest way then is just to butt it up to this side, use your pencil and just mark it where the other one ended, and just cut with your scissors, and then just test it first to check that fits okay, which it does, and then do the same thing as you did with your other piece. Okay, so then we've got that. And if you notice, like mine, see it's not quite lined up, that's fine. You're not going to notice that, because once you've got your upright piece here, plus that's going to get covered with cardstock as well, so you're not even going to notice that. So that's fine. So now what you want to do is do the same again for the front here and then on the sides. So that's the construction strips put on our base. And then for these upright pieces here, what you want to do is, with some of you should have some of the some short pieces here, you want to line it up, so push your piece in so that, I mean this more or less is the same size actually, but you just push your strip in like that so it's touching the bottom of the caddy, and you want to, with your pencil, just draw a mark at the lowest point here where the edge of the side is, like that, and use your scissors. In fact, that's going to be, let me turn it, well, yeah, I can do it that way. Where I've just got my mark there, I'm just going to cut from the corner down to the mark I've just made, so that when you then position that in, you'll find then that it will follow the angle of the back. Now if it slightly protrudes, which mine's doing, you can cut it down a bit, and the easiest way to do that is from the bottom. So just cut a smidgen off, just a tiny piece like that until it fits, and then just try it out like that, and then you can see then that that fits. You don't want it coming over the top. And you'll do the same again, where you'll just take off one side of your tape, and this time you want to hold it like that so that the tape's not going to go on anything, and again push it up against the back, and then whilst holding it in place, then just push the sticky part on the back there, and then just take off the other tape, and just do that with all of the other corners. So that's our corners done there, and you'll feel now that it's really starting to get some strength. So now we need to do these pieces here, and what you're going to want is two pieces, one of them measuring 15 inches by 3.5, and that's going to fit in to our caddy like that. And you'll find when you put it down that it's just going to sit just slightly lower than our edge here. You don't want it so that it's sort of raised. It doesn't matter if it is, but yeah, the 3.5 inches just lets it sit just slightly below our edge, and then that side as well, it just sits slightly lower. So that fits okay, and then just check that your front piece fits, and that is 15 inches by 2 7/8. Okay, and again that just sits slightly lower than our sides. So what we're going to do now is put our guidelines on here so that we can line up these upright pieces. So again, you want to come in on one side. So I'm now going to work on these parts here. So if you remember, it was 2 5/8. So we'll come in 2 5/8. Okay, then when you've got those lines, when you then stick in that section there, oops, you'll then see that it lines up. See, you've got the lines, and that will allow you to position your compartment pieces a lot easier. So we'll then do the same on this front piece, which of course we're then going to do these grid lines here. So the easiest way to do that is to line up our two pieces together like that, so they're even, and just use your ruler to line up the first line, and then you can just draw a line and follow that on through, and then go over to the other side. Okay, and then we've got that there, and then that won't line up. Ah, there we go, turn it round. There we go, and so that lines up. Oh, I've just got a little money spider crawling over my light there. Let me just move that out of the way. There we go, no doubt it'll be back. Right, so now with those pieces, you now want to cover them, or at least cover the edges with the construction tape. So we'll do that, and then I'll show you what we're going to do next. Right, so I've now got the tape around my pieces there, and the way we're going to stick these in our excuse me, in our caddy is with the construction strips, and the easiest way to do this is to put the strips on this piece before we put it into the caddy. So first of all, just check which way it should be and work out which is the bottom and which is the top, and you'll do that by the lines that you've made. And so we're going to be putting the construction strips on the bottom and the two sides. You don't put strips on the top. So what you need to do is grab one of your strips, and with the crease line on the left hand side, you just want to cut a wedge like that, okay? And the easiest way to put this on, so that you've got the crease line at the bottom, just turn it over so it's now at the top, and just take off just a part of the tape, just a small part on one end, about 2 inches, something like that. Turn it over again so that the tape that you've just taken off is underneath, and you want to line up the bottom of your strip, and that's the folded part there, with the bottom edge of your piece here, and you want to line up the corner with the corner of your piece there. And so line it up without sticking down the piece that you took the tape off. Just line it up, and when it's straight, then just push down where you've taken the tape off. So you now know that that part is stuck. And while you're still holding it in place, not too hard, just release some of the tape and push down with your finger, move along, move some of your tape, just ensuring that it's still in line, and then remove the rest of the tape and just flatten that down with your fingers. And again, just use your bone folder just to really make sure that's stuck down. And then grab another piece of strip, and we've obviously got this little piece here. So again, line up and butt it up to where this other piece is. Use your pencil and just draw a line at the edge of the grey board piece. Cut a straight line, and then again with the creased line on the left, just cut at the diagonal like that. And then again for this one you can take the whole piece off. So again you've got the crease at the top, take the whole of the tape off and then hold it like that so that the tape isn't going to stick straight away, and just line it up. You've got a bit of time, line it up to the edge, and then when you're happy it's there in the right place, then push down. And again use your bone folder to really flatten that down. And then turn it round, and for our sides again you want to cut a wedge. So just remembering when you cut the wedge you always want the crease on the left hand side, and you just line it up again. That's actually a perfect fit. So once you've got that, if it wasn't, you would just place your mark there, cut straight up, and in fact I'll be able to show you on the other side. So again with the crease on the left, cut the wedge, with the crease at the top, take the backing paper off and then line it up again with the crease at the bottom. And flatten down. Turn it over to do this side. So this is, now I'm going to have to cut a piece down, so I'll cut the wedge off first and then line it up, and with my with my pencil just draw a line where the edge of the grey board is, cut that straight up and then cut a wedge like that, and again just line it up again, just double check it fits before you take the sticky off. Okay, and so that is the construction strips put on our divider there. You now want to go ahead and repeat that on the other side. So you turn it over and you put your strip along the bottom and up the two sides. So that's our strips put on both sides. Okay, so to put it into our caddy, something stuck in there, that's it. You do it the similar way where you take off some of the tape, and it's better off to do the base first and then do the sides, and we'll just do one side at a time. So we will remove the tape from one side, and in fact the best thing to probably do is do it so that we've got our guidelines facing us, and we will take part of the tape off like that, hold it up so that it's not going to stick before we want it to, and just lower it down into your base and line up the bottom of this divider with the line, the guideline that you made on the base. And when it's in line, in fact because we're holding this up we can pull the rest of that tape off. When you're happy that it's lined up with your line that you've made, just let go of it, and while still holding it in place just push down with your fingers, and again go in with your bone folder and push that down, and then just take the tape off that last little piece there, because obviously it's 15 inches long, so our strips didn't quite go across, and then just push that down. And you right, sorry about that, my camera's just run out of battery, so I've just had to plug that in. Right, so we've stuck the strips down on this side. You then just want to turn it round, and you want to do the same again on this side. So as it's already stuck down on one side, it's already going to be lined up, so we can just take our tape off and push that down like that, and we know it's already lined up because we lined it up the other side. Again, just use your bone folder to really push that down. Now for the sides, again I'm just going to do one side at a time, but because I want this to be extra strong on the sides, because we are going to need to just bring the side in slightly. So what I'm going to do, because my tape doesn't quite meet the fold line of the strip, see on the edge there, it doesn't quite reach, I'm going to pop a line of strong adhesive just where there's no tape. So the easiest way to do that is probably just lay it on its side and just put a line of adhesive going down there. In fact, I probably should have taken the backing off first, so take the backing off and then do that line of adhesive. Just show you what I've done there. Okay, and then holding your strip out of the way that's got the sticky on it, before you want to hold it out of the way so it doesn't stick before you're ready for it to. You just want to bring the side in slightly whilst lining up the divider with the line that you've made on the side, and while holding it in place, just then push with your thumb like that. Okay, and then turn it on its end and really push that down to spread that glue, and so that tape gets stuck down firmly. Okay, and then that way you can go to the other side, take the tape off, and it's a bit awkward to get the glue down this side actually, so it probably would have been better to have done this side first. But just put it on as best as you can, I think, as long as there's a lot at the top. And also what I'm going to do is just squeeze some glue down where I've just got that little gap here, and then I'm going to just bring it in slightly. So I've got a bit of glue just coming out there, but I can just move that with my fingers and just pushing it, so I've got the other side here just pushed against me, and not pushing it too hard because you don't want it to suddenly buckle. Just hold that in place for a little while, just to let that glue take hold. Okay, so that's now stuck nicely. The glue's almost set. Okay, and then turn it round, and we want to then stick this side. So take the tape off, and you'll still need to line this side up. Bead of glue as best as you can, and then again line up with your grid line, hold firmly in place and then stick down using your thumb. And then take the tape off the other side. Pop again a bead of glue. And if needed, just pop some glue down the side again. And just squeeze that together. Okay, and then again use your bone folder to really squeeze that glue around and push that tape firmly in place. Okay, and there's our first divider. And how easy was that? Just using those grid lines, guidelines rather, you know that that's going to be perfectly in line. Okay, so you want to go ahead, do the same with your front piece, put the construction strips on the bottom and on the sides, just ensuring again, so I've actually done mine, just ensuring that you line up your guidelines and checking that you're putting your tape on the bottom on the right side. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stick my front divider in. So the next part we're going to work on are the dividing sections here, and for these I can give you my sizes, but yours might be slightly different. So the height of them should be just under 4 1/4, so that should be the same as mine because our back's 4 1/4, so you're going to want to do it 4 1/4 high. But the width, it's the width that might be a bit different for you because it would depend where you've positioned this divider here. So just measure across like I'm doing. Mine is actually still 2 5/8, so I would do mine just slightly under or slightly over 2 1/2. So you're going to want 4 pieces, and what you initially want, so I've got one of my pieces here, you're going to want to do it square, so mine is, well not square, but mine is just over 2 1/2 by just under 4 1/4, and you want to do 4 because what we then need to do is just shape the angle down like that, and to do that you then just, there's the size of this height was 3 1/2, so you're going to measure up 3 1/2 inches. In fact, we'll do it just under because again we just want them to just sit slightly under like that, and it's the same as we did for the sides of the outside, and you just again run your pencil and you'll want to cut that out. So you'll grab your trimmer and again just line up the line that you've just made in the blade where the channel is on your trimmer, and you don't want to start on a corner because that can buckle the corners. So I'm going to move my blade up and then come down from this way, and again just keep moving it till it won't go any further. And of course, because it won't go all the way through and I can't tell which way to go this side, you're then going to want to have to use a craft knife to then just finish off and cut the way through. Like that. And once you've done that, just bring your caddy back and just position it and try it out. Just check that it fits in there. Mine fits in there perfectly going that way, and you just want it to just sit. See how that's just slightly under so that it's not sitting too proud. And so you want to cut 4 of these, and once you've done that, I've got my other 3 here, you then want to cover it with the construction tape just around the sides like we did, and then you want to add the construction strips. Now you're not going to put construction strips on the angled top there because that's the top, but you want to put them on the back, and remember to put them on either side, on the bottom and on the front as well, so it's going to go in like that. So you want to cover your other pieces. I'm going to go and cover this one and then I'll be right back. So that's my 4 pieces now covered in the construction tape. Well, the edges are covered, and then with the strips put on the bottom and the 2 sides. And you're also going to want to cut another 2 pieces for this middle section here. And again, you know, yours might be slightly different. The height I've done just slightly lower than 3.5, and the width of this one is just under 2.5. So do a rectangle of just under 3.5 by just under 2.5, and then the depth for the angle, this part here, okay, is just under 2 7/8, because that's the height of this front divider here. Okay, so I've got my 2 pieces. You want to cover them in exactly the same way as these 4 pieces. Now putting them in is simple. Well, it's simple to put them in. It can be a bit fiddly though, but we've got our guidelines there, so we shouldn't have any wonky uprights. So the easiest way to do it first is to start off by sticking the bottom construction strips down, which is what we did with these 2 sections here. So we'll just take off the backing off of one side for now, and position your caddy whichever way suits you so that you can see your guidelines clearly, and just with your thumb hold up the strips like that so they're out of the way, and then by doing that as well it just holds these side ones in place, and just go down into your caddy and line up the base with the grid line that you've made, and just get that lined up as best you can. Check that it's straight. I'm just going to let go but not actually push the tape down, because I just want to check that this front part is in line with my guideline that's going up the front of that divider, which it is. So I'm just going to hold that in place and then with my finger push down so that that side of the construction tape, the strip now, is adhered to the bottom of the caddy. Okay, and then turn it round, and this is where it gets a bit tricky. So I suppose you could take the other side off. You've just got to be extra careful that it doesn't stick down before you want it to. There, and just hold that up again so that you know that that's straight, and perhaps just use your bone folder to then just push the other side down. Okay, so that's just moving like that at the moment. And so now I'm going to, as it's easier, I think I'm just going to take the tape off of, let's just try the one side for now, and line up your piece so that it lines up with the line. Push it together like that so that it holds it in place, and then use my bone folder to then push down the strip like that. Okay, so you've got that, and now that will be well, when we've stuck the other side, it'll be perfectly straight. So we'll take the tape off of this side, and I'll just give it a slight squeeze together again and just push that down. And you could, if you wanted to, pop a bit of glue like we did on these edges here, but these are quite a snug fit, so I'm not going to do that this time. But if you feel that it needs it, you can pop a bit of glue on the sides of where your tape didn't quite reach the edge of the score line. And then for the other side, again, we'll take the tape off. Now, I didn't do guidelines on this side. That you can pretty much eyeball because it's not going to be totally wrong. It's not got a lot of movement, so you can just eyeball that. Squeeze it together so you know it's not going anywhere, and then use your bone folder just to adhere that into place. And there we go. That's our first divider put in. Okay, so now go ahead and do exactly the same thing for your other 3 pieces and your 2 pieces in the middle. And that's a construction of our caddy complete. And it's really strong. Then compartments are not going anywhere. These uprights are nice and strong. And yeah, really easy, but at least I hope you think it's easy to put together. So now it's just a case of decorating it. Now I've gone ahead, because you wouldn't want to have seen that, and I've put in some just plain black cardstock on the pieces that you can't really see. So I've done that on the insides of all the compartments and also on the back of the compartments. See there, because you're not going to see those, so I didn't want to waste pattern paper. And I could give you the sizes, but again, your compartments might be slightly different size to mine, so you do just literally with your ruler just measure it and then just do a, you know, go under slightly. So this one's 2 5/8, I did them 2 1/2, and you just do it that way. And I find the easiest way of doing it is measuring everything, cutting all your pieces first and then sticking it in. But what I did want to show you is how, with the pattern paper, obviously this section is 15 inches long and most pattern paper is 12 inches. And if it's got a pattern, if it's got a messy pattern, then it's not too bad. So like if I can bring in my one, with all the things in it, you know, the front of this is quite a messy pattern, and so I didn't need to really match up any pattern. You can't really notice it because it's quite busy. I say busy, not messy. It's a busy pattern. But the paper I'm going to be using today is this, which for the front actually is going to be this pattern here, which of course isn't really that busy. And so I just thought I'd quickly show you how to line up your pattern so that you can't see where we've joined it. So these are 12-inch square, and so we know that the length we're going to want is 12 inches. The depth, just measure the front, and that is 2 3/8. So I'm going to do mine at, I think I'll do it at 2 1/4. So first of all, cut your piece at 2 1/4. So I've got my piece here. Now, it is actually easier if you've got 2 12 by 12 pattern paper, 2 are the same, and most packs do have 2 of the same, but I have bought some that don't. So that's why I thought I will show you if you don't have 2 of the same design. So what you want to do is line up. Most of the patterns as well also repeat, which is quite handy. So if you line up the top of your cut piece here with the pattern, the existing pattern on this larger piece. And this pattern's quite nice to line up actually, because it's got lines on it. And it should be the same coming down along this side, so you'll have it flush. And just move it until you've got it so that it matches and you can't see a join, or you can't see a change in pattern. Okay, and so once you've got that, then just grab a pencil and just draw a mark on one side and then up the other end as well. Okay, and then I'm going to cut that piece off because it's quite small to see. And so I've just literally cut off this little piece, and now I know that this here is the same as this, so it starts at the same place as this starts. Okay, so we know now that's going to be, so what we could do now in fact is measure down 2 and, if we say 2 1/4, yeah, so now from this side we can measure over 2 1/4 and cut that strip. Okay, and this is where I'm saying that if you had 2 sheets of the same pattern paper, they normally start at the same place, so you would be able to just on one sheet measure 2 1/4, grab your other sheet, measure 2 1/4. But as I say, this is if you don't have that second sheet. And so now we know this is 12 inches, so we're not going to want a whole 3 inches, because obviously we like to just leave that nice border. So just lay that on your front and just measure.
I didn't get that.
Oh.
Could you try again?
Be quiet, thank you. Don't know why I thought I wanted to speak to him. Right, so we've got the 12 inches across. You then just measure. So in fact it is 3 inches, because I've just remembered actually this long piece was slightly over 15. It was I think just under 15 1/4. So that's going to be nice and easy for us. So what we want to do now is, obviously we can't just cut 3 inches, because if you look, if we butted that up, see how that's just not going to match. So what we'll do is we'll line up like we did before, like that, until it's, the pattern is matching. Okay, in fact we'll do that this way, so we're not adjusting the length of this. So with your piece on the left on top of your other piece, just move it along until the pattern lines up like that. Okay, and then again draw a pencil mark, so that you're drawing the pencil mark on top of this right piece here. And again, it's just going to be a small slither. And so now, if we butt those up together, you will see that that pattern will follow through pretty much perfectly, so you won't be able to see. So there is my join, and you just can't see that. And so now we can measure 3 inches across. Just make sure that you've got your matching piece on this side, or you don't want to cut that off, otherwise you'll have to start again. And so now this should fit on there perfectly. Okay, and you'll see there that that pattern follows through. Okay, so that's for your front piece. You'll want to do the same again for this piece. Okay, and I'm going to be using this pattern, so I shall just do that. What I do want to show you is how to do the cutting to allow for the angles that we've got. So I think the easiest thing actually will be to show you on this side, because it works the same way. So first of all, you'll measure the length, and the total length of this is 8 inches. So I'm going to do that at 7 3/4. You then want to measure the height, and the height is 4 1/4, so I'm going to do that at 4. So it's 7 3/4 by 4. That should also be the same size for you. So I've chosen this paper for sides. And actually, if you like this paper, this is from Do Crafts, and it's called Moroccan Blue. I actually got it from a craft fair, and it was reduced from $15.99 down to $5.99. So yeah, I'm pretty sure you'd still be able to buy it, but yeah, maybe wait and see if you can get it from the craft fair. Right, so I've cut my pieces, and with these, the side pieces are quite simple actually. They're similar to when you cut the pieces of grey board. So we know that the front is 2, well, we don't know. The front is 2 1/2. I'm going to come down to just over 2 1/4. We'll come up 2 1/4 from the bottom. And you don't need to draw a line on this actually. So we can just line it up, line the pencil mark that you've just made, and then line up the corner of the paper on the edge of where your cutting blade is going to be. And just slide that down, and then hopefully that should line up on there nice, which mine doesn't, so I obviously haven't. So what I'll do now is, if it doesn't quite line up, which is fine, it's a lot easier now that we've started the angle. So then you can just put a pencil line where you'd like it to go, and then line it up again, so the corner in the same position on the edge of your trimmer where the blade's going to go, and try again. And hopefully that will now, yeah, that's not too bad. Okay, so that's how you do that. You'll do the same for the other side, but, and it's really important, and that's the same for when you do these parts as well, you must make sure you couldn't just line that up like that and cut. If you do that, then it's going to be back to front when you go to do this side. Okay, so if we cut that now, it would be back to front. So if you do want to use what you've just cut as a template, then turn your pattern paper over and line it up that way, like that. Just check it's flush on the bottom. Use your pencil to just place a little mark at the top of where the other piece is, and then that way you'll know that they'll be the same, which those side pieces should be. Okay, and then that way it's at the right orientation. Okay, and so that's the side pieces. So when you do your side pieces inside the compartments, You measure again, which for you is going to be, you know, likely to be slightly different. So just measure the depth and take a bit off. And then this time, what I do and what I find easier is I push the pattern paper until it touches the bottom. In fact, that's probably a bit too snug. Let me just take a little bit off so you can see why there's no point in giving measurements, because it's just, you're having to take tiny little slithers off. I mean, look, that's a slither I've just taken off. There we go, that's better. So push it down until it's touching the bottom of your caddy. And then for this, I use a pencil and I do a line. Really hard to see and show you because it's so tall. So I do a line where it meets the top here, and then while still holding it in place, I do a line down there. In fact, I've done that back to front. If I now cut that, I would turn it round to glue and it would be at the wrong orientation. So I'm glad I just noticed that. So let me just rub that out, although you can't really see it. Right, so that's rubbed out. So this time, the best way to do it actually is, you know, if you're going to put it this way, because you're going to see the pattern. So that's a good way of remembering which way your pattern paper needs to be. So it going in that way. In fact, it's going to be easier now to see the pencil marks. So put a line at the top, hold it in place, put a line at the bottom. So you've got those, yeah, and then put them in your cutter or your trimmer. And then you're likely to need to then just take a piece off at the bottom, because obviously that's going to be flush, which we don't really want it to be flush. So then just, you can either use scissors, but I can't do it very straight, so just take a small slither off, more if you want to, and then that will then sit there and will follow the angle. Can you see that? Okay, and so that's basically what we want to do for all of the rest. And what I tend to do is do all my measuring and cutting and then keep that in their compartments, so I know, because each bit is going to be different. Like this piece here, I actually cut a bit short, so this is going to be different. So I wouldn't rely on all of your pieces being the same size. Sounds like it's going to be awful having to measure it all individually, but it really isn't. It doesn't take long at all, and it will be worth it in the end. So I'm going to go and measure all my pieces, get them cut, get them stuck down, and then I'll be right back and show you the finished project. And there's my finished caddy. Really pleased with how this has come out. I've also decorated the back, and I've put some black cardstock underneath, and it is so strong. In fact, where you put the pattern paper, it seems to just strengthen it a bit more. That's not going anywhere. And so there it is. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you'll give it a go. It really isn't difficult to make. If you do have any problems, do leave a comment below and I will answer them, hopefully, if I can. And I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, I would love it if you'd subscribe to my channel. And also, if you hit the bell icon, you'll be notified when I upload another video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.